We're back down here at our Southern Public Land Unit. Gonna do a little bit of scouting today with Zach Ferenbaugh from the Hunting Public. Yo, I'm sure most of you guys that watch our channel probably know of their channel, but he was driving through and decided to stop through and do some scouting. So we're gonna head back, gonna show him where I shot my buck, and then we'll get back in to the high wall area and kind of scout up that side and just kind of see what he thinks of the property. And so we're gonna walk down here and see what we can find today.
All right, here we go. That's cold on the back.
Yeah, it is.
So why don't you give us actually just a quick rundown of like what exactly happened in that hunt. Like I said, we'll put a link in this video below to where you can watch the full hunt, but just kind of walk us through real quick what exactly happened. Essentially a bump and dump.
Yep. So Chance and Dad were hunting farther back in this property where we will be later, but we have to walk through here to get back there. But then on their way out, they're walking out and bumped that big buck out of its bed. Came back in, hunted once, didn't see anything, but I trusted the sign because there were so many beds and rubs. I was like, there's got to be bucks bedding in here. Came back the next day and he came back in with another buck and we were able to kill him.
That's sweet.
Yep.
Yeah, so we're gonna go up here to the spot, check it out. You can already kind of see once we're standing at the edge of this ice. Once you get in there a little bit, it starts to raise up.
And the one common thing that we've seen down here for bucks and where they're bedding is that where there's this horsetail grass, there's bucks and there's buck beds. And Jake had talked about it last year on a podcast that you guys did, and even Zach said it today. It's in Ohio and then up there in Wisconsin where Jake is, and it's down here, and it just kind of grows where it's wet, and it's pretty invasive, so it kind of takes over stuff, but apparently the deer like it. They eat on it all year round, and there's always lots of water in it. So you find this horsetail grass where you're at, it's worth a look because there's probably buck beds in it.
I think one of the coolest things about the horsetail grass is if you get down in it, like as you're deer bedding, it covers you really well. I mean, obviously the deer are utilizing that, but it also is just a food source. If you look at it, it's still green. If you look at the inside here, it's still green in there. There's a lot of water in that. So those deer feeding in it and bedding in it.
And you talk about all the time, like bucks needing everything that they want in one place, and they have it. They can stand up and eat on this. It's got the water in it, and they feel secure, so they really don't gotta move if they don't want to during the day.
Cool. Let's go find some unique stuff back in this river bottom. It's wild.
We'll probably push farther back and get into that high wall so we can work up that stuff. But
let's do it.
Yeah. So we've crossed the dry river here, made it over to this other side. All this horsetail grass, similar to what we looked at over there, just on this side.
Yeah, this is just a deeper version of
Yep.
it. I mean, that's up close to the road where those bucks are strategically bedding there because they're close to the access, facing the access. Back here, they're strategically bedding here to get away from the access.
Yep.
Remember last year we were talking about so much, we were talking about, you got doe trails going this way, you got a buck trail going directly perpendicular to that. It's the same thing. I think what's interesting, Brody and I have been talking, they obviously capitalized on it, but once you really start thinking about this, not only as a transition line, but a transition from bedding for the does up the food. Up on top of this high wall, there's crop fields up there. And on this high wall, there's only a few specific places that those does can go up. The deer, I mean, in general, deer are doing that, but the bucks know that those does are going from that horsetail over here, going up and around this high wall. And right here, there's a place where the deer can get up around this high wall. Brody said there's always a scrape right here. The reason is on that cruising trail, on that transition, those bucks are hitting these spots where the does are going up. Therefore, they can just check a big swath of a bedding area by hitting the crossing trails and circling downwind of the beds.
And they're headed out to food, so they're hitting all those doe trails, and then they're going to the food where the does are at,
right,
too. So, kind of like you said, they can hit that whole bedding area, pretty much this whole southern side, just by hitting this trail and then going to that food source.
Yeah, it's like in the mornings, the does are all back there. They come back through in the morning early. The buck, you know, he can kind of go through this, checking the whole thing, and then he goes down into the bedding area, beds down for the day. Afternoon, the does go back out. He gets up, he cruises that trail, and then then he's also either circled the whole bedding area or circled the whole food source with checking the wind. So now he knows he's safe on one whole side of him too. So I think there's just a lot of strategy that the bucks have doing that. I mean, you can go from Iowa to Alabama, or you can go from Nebraska to Alabama, and this type of trail is the same thing. I mean, this is exactly what we set up on in Alabama.
Yep. Like
hundreds of miles.
Look slightly different, but that broad idea is still the same everywhere you go.
Yep.
So we're moving this way, moving a little bit farther north. The high wall stuff is back behind us, and we're kind of pushing into an area that me and Chance haven't hunted very much, but kind of have a suspicion that might be where they're at. We've hunted on both sides of it, but never in the middle, and it seems like it gets a little bit thicker. There's more horsetail grass and more of those cedars, so that's where we're pushing to right now, just trying to see if we can't find some better bedding and some more buck sign as we get farther this direction.
So one of the things that I've learned from these guys hunting back here and just watching their videos and kind of just talking with them about how the deer are using this area, I didn't ever realize how much deer were actually going across these rivers. And in a spot like this, you can look down in the water and you can see, okay, there's some sand down in there. It's obviously shallow, but right here it appears to be pretty deep. You know, I guess I just always assumed that deer didn't want to cross these things. Some of the craziest footage I've ever seen in my life, Brody filmed right on this river, filming just deer going back and forth across this river. Filmed big bucks, little bucks, tons and tons of does going right across this thing. And the deer are using that as a deterrent. You know, they know it's a deterrent for hunters. There's a lot of hunter access over here. There's a field that's not that far away. And in the mornings, he always sees, especially early season, deer coming up and across this river. I always just assumed, really, that, you know, they weren't doing that. They weren't crossing these rivers. I knew they did it, but I didn't know that they did it as frequently as they do. So if you're hunting a river, especially a shallow river like this, one that's not moving very fast, definitely start looking into those river crossings and seeing how the deer could potentially be using them to get away from hunting pressure. So Brody and I have been working our way through this whole piece, and we're at the very back corner now. And Brody and I have been talking about the spot for probably a year and a half, 2 years now. This has always been in the back of my mind, this little corner, this kind of bend of the river. And as soon as we get back here, start seeing crazy stuff like this. That's a huge rub on a hackberry tree. And if you know what a hackberry tree is, as far as like bark, that stuff's tough. That buck carved a hole in it, and there's a fresh bed right here. The reason I guess this has always caught my eye is just simply it's the deepest point back in here where a buck can bed here, be close to the river. He can hear anybody coming across the river, and he can smell anybody coming across these fields, see anybody coming across these fields. I mean, he's basically got exactly everything he could possibly need. I think just if to kind of wrap a bow around why a buck would be here and kind of exactly what he does need and what, or I guess maybe not even need, but wants. You know, he can lay here, somewhere in this general area. Maybe not necessarily this bed, but he's going to bounce around this. He's got horsetail. Back in there, there's cedars. Right here, he's got the river. He's got a crop field over there. He's got a crop field over here. He's got does that are moving across this river like crazy every single day. And where this may not be the best rut spot, to me this is a great early season spot. He can lay here, and he can hop up, he can get to the edge of that field pretty quickly, he can browse on horsetail throughout the day, and it's obvious that a buck has just meandered through this spot, because we've counted 1, 2, 3, I'll skip ahead and just tell you there's 8 that we can just see standing right in this one spot. So I guess as far as the setup goes, in this location, what jumps out to me is thinking about, okay, so that river is about 40 yards over that way. As far as a morning setup goes, if you could just pop in here, set up right off the river, then you could have just deer kind of meandering through this bedding area all morning. And one of the things that we were discussing before we started rolling on the cameras was this is a spot back in this back corner that, you know, setting up on the river and being able to observe all the way down the river. Obviously doing that, Brody's seeing shooter bucks, but some of the biggest, oldest bucks could potentially be spending their time in this corner where they think they're safe and never going actually across that river in the open in daylight. You've only, I guess, the one buck, that kind of the legend back here. You know, you've only ever seen him, what, 3 times total, or 3 times total going across that river. Obviously, he's still in here, because I don't think that there's many bucks that are able to make as much big sign that is back in here. The spot's pretty crazy, as you can see, lots of sign back in here. Pretty cool river spot. Maybe we're off, but that's part of the fun. They're obviously in here at some point, and they're definitely bedding at some point, so we're gonna work our way back, just kind of scout our way back towards the cars.
Scouting here of our Southern Public Land Unit. So what do you think of Nebraska Public?
I thought, well, I've obviously hunted some Nebraska Public, but
that's true.
This is way
different Nebraska.
Literally, totally different sides of the state. So it's also just interesting. It's a habitat I've never seen. Like I've never seen horsetail and cedars and cottonwoods kind of mixed. I see it a lot when I'm driving through here, but I've never actually been in there scouting. So it's pretty cool. It's interesting, and I think that little oxbow spot that we've been talking about is going to be really awesome.
Yeah, I think that's the spot to go to. Start the year off. I think I just see giant buck tracks.
Jeez.
Holy smokes.
That'll be a 4-finger track for sure.
There's one. Oh my gosh, dude.
Look at a big old buck come down through here. Probably just bumped him right out of there.
I bet we did.
Still scouting right here by the road.
There's more right here.
Jeez. Quick bachelor group bump. You know, it's kind of fun for me too. Like to come here and hunt a flat area, or scout a flat area where when I was younger, I grew up in a flat area, but different type of flat. You know, it wasn't ever river bottom. I never had access to good river bottom stuff, so pretty cool. Pretty fun. Thanks for having me out, dude.
Yeah, thanks for coming out. I appreciate it. I was super pumped when you called me. Like, hey, you gotta go scout somewhere? Like, heck yeah.
We'll do it. We'll do it again here soon, I think. Hopefully we can get back out soon.
Yeah, something different.
Yeah, thanks for watching. Hey, everybody, if you guys haven't checked out Brody's channel, do it. It's awesome. He's got awesome content. Him and his brother and his dad been hunting this public land, working together as a team, just like we're doing, making awesome stuff, shooting nice bucks back here. Do check it out.
And subscribe to both your video and our video.
Yeah.
And like it.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, guys.